It's showtime, folks. Miranda here to give you all our weekly Impact Hot Topic review show. Before we get into the show, Miranda, it was a pleasure to have you on the podcast last night. So being able to work with you 2 times a week is absolutely the best.
Thank you, Najir. I love going on the Big Old Belt podcast. It was a lot of fun. Damien, Marcellus, are great. So I had a lot of fun talking with you yesterday. But we got to go back to business today, doing our weekly impact review because the people want it, they need it. So we're here to do it.
That's right. And we apologize last week. Life caught up with us, but here we're back this week. But nonetheless, without further ado, let's get into today's show because we got some things to talk about. So let's get started. What's up, everybody? Again, it's Miranda, and we are back this week to give you Impact Wrestling, our weekly Hot Topic review. We're starting at about 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, which makes that 12:30 Pacific Standard Time, coast to coast, as we like to say.
Coast to coast.
And because our timing on Fridays is kind of a little all over the place, in case you need to know, how do you find us live so you can be a part of the show? Subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way, whenever we go live, you get the alert. Jump in the chat and let us know your thoughts about Impact Wrestling this week. And we love to hear your all's thoughts. So many good suggestions and ideas over the past episodes, and we, fully embrace them. So be a part of the conversation, folks, and hang out with us live. But if you are catching the replay, we also appreciate the support. And obviously, jump in the comments and let us know your thoughts about this week's hot topic. So, this week, we're going to jump to the end of Impact Wrestling on Access TV. And I have a lot to say about this, but Violent by Design becomes the new Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions. And really in a surprise fashion, because I guess I was feeling like FinJuice for a second. I was like, wait a minute, what's happening? And then I started listening to commentary and it's like, oh, that's right. So
they played the long game. Long game.
So obviously,
almost a very long game.
Yeah, to a point I forgot. But okay, so let's bring everybody to speed. So Rhino won the Call Your Shot trophy, which ultimately him winning was not only winning that, but it also secured Heath's job, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that is correct. Him or Heath had to win that match in order for Heath to, have a job.
Yeah. So the Call Your Shot Gauntlet trophy, and Heath is hurt, which at first I thought was just an angle, but he's legitimately hurt. Who we know is his tag team partner. They were working a program together. And at some point, he got hurt, and he, his whole campaign commercial things that he was doing kind of fizzled out. And, obviously the focus became Kenny Omega and whatnot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there was still, and like what I really liked about this is that this was long-term Impact booking. This is like the things that I like to obviously tip my hat to them. And storytelling is that they continue to tell good stories over time, where I may get frustrated by thinking short term and they're already thinking steps ahead. And I forgot all about this. And I cannot believe I've seen it nowhere anybody mention like, hey, what's Rhino doing with that? And it could have ultimately meant that he was waiting for Heath. It could have ultimately meant that he was looking for another title. But ultimately, he cashes it in with Violent by Design. And that's important to think here. Violent by Design, not just him and his name slipped out of my head. You just did it to Joe. Yeah, it's not just them two, but as the stable, which I forget the name of that as well too. When everybody can defend it.
Oh, the Freebird rule.
Freebird. Thank you. You're the best. I swear you're the best. So what's interesting about this is a lot of things. Number one, I have to go back to something I was saying a lot earlier this year, that Eric Young not only was the best asset for Impact Wrestling and Slammiversary last year, which we're going to be talking about Slammiversary this year in our topic 1B, but we see how his presence on Impact is so important.
Yeah,
because
changes everything.
I thought he was the best heel in wrestling when working. And obviously, he fizzled a little bit because of the injuries and whatnot, but he's still super relevant. And even with him having a super duper severe injury in a torn ACL, or was it Achilles? Oh, it's a knee. It's an ACL.
Yeah,
right?
Knee.
Yeah. A lot of people sit on the shelf with this one. And not that he's wrestling, but he's there each and every week. And I know it's taping, but it still means that he is showing up to work. And he's helping this group of 3 guys who at some point in their career or at some point in this programming has some type of notoriety. Joe Doring being signed, and after all his work in All Japan, like, it's a big sign if you're a fan of him. Rhino, who was in this purgatory area because where's Heath? And the whole thing with Heath was gone. But Rhino fits the mode here. And then you got what's his name? That obviously just
and that's the one I don't. Diener, Cody,
Diener. Here we go.
Diener, right. Yeah, I think he just goes by Diener now. Okay. Yes. Together we can.
Who's been like unlocked, and he's more fierce. He's violent now. He fits the mold with their leader Eric Young. He's slowly helping all of them get over and become relevant. And even with them not being a focus right now, because I'll say this, the internal Impact stuff hasn't been a focus because it's been about the external Kenny Omega stuff. Look at what they're doing right now. That is completely impressive. And we worried about Eric Young, who wrestled that match, I can't believe, with the injury. What would happen to him and things around him? Nothing. It got better. And the fact that he is going to come back.
I know. I mean,
and the championship waiting for him.
Yeah, and I think and this is a great time too now to elevate the rest of the stable. You know, Eric Young is the face of Violent by Design, but now with this opportunity and these belts, it allows them to elevate every single other person in this group with Diener and Rhino and
Joe
Doring. Yes. I mean, everyone gets elevated. Everyone has the opportunity to shine, and this is a way to bring the titles back to Impact. So it has more viewers now interested in, what is happening in the tag division. You also mentioned, the fact that they could be defending this via the Freebird rule. So you never know which combination of people we're going to get in a match, which I think adds some interest when you see the rest of the tag division. So I think there's a lot of great elements to this. And as you started off, I mean, the storyline, like even as Rhino had been introduced and talked about, usually in wrestling, when you have someone who is a winner of something like, the Call Your Shot trophy or Money in the Bank or something, a Rumble winner, whatever it is, that is synonymous with their identity for quite some time. With Rhino, it kind of fell off when that story with Heath fell off. So there's been a good amount of time, probably since the end of last year up to now, that hasn't been mentioned at all. So the fact that came as a surprise, and the fact that it took this long to do it too, is, I think, genius. That's one of my favorite parts. I tend to appreciate when you hold on to that title or to that, opportunity a little longer than if you were to kind of just, shoot your shot right away or call your shot right away. So the fact that they took the time with this and were so strategic about it, I really, really appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not be a fan of long-term booking. And I mean, it's literally one of those ones where you're like, you eat your words, because if you're like me at times, you're just like, what? And I say it all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
I hope at the end of this tunnel, it makes sense. And like, obviously the Ken Omega thing and Rich Swann thing, we've followed it the entire very extensive time.
Yes.
And, it's one of those ones where we're just like, but when we go back to this being just straight Impact booking here, where it's not like somebody's donating an organ to somebody else, just Impact booking. This is their bread and butter here, and I'm like, I surprise is probably an understatement of how I feel, because I will say this too, and you brought this up. There was a little bit of intrigue here about the promo that FinJuice also cut, because it made it seem like they were going to eventually go back to Japan and they were going to defend it to anybody who wanted it. And they significantly named they named legitimate tag teams of significance, and there's interest in that. And you're thinking like,
there really is. I mean, to have those titles in not only a New Japan platform, but teasing, the teams that they could face. That's a big interest, especially for Impact fans that are also New Japan fans, but also just fans who want to see a different level of competition. The one thing that Impact has kind of struggled with is this revolving door of tag teams that at the end of Slammiversary last year, there was a lot of hope and intrigue with their tag team division as they kind of replenished it. Now it's kind of diminished again. So in order to really keep up that interest in that level of competition, going to Japan and defending it against highly notable teams and talent, like that perks up some ears.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, as I said, in a partnership, New Japan wants to gain U.S. territory. And while they reign superior in Japan, they still want to gain leverage in programming here. And we've seen them make attempts. I think they still got the New Japan dojo in California.
Yeah, they still do in New Japan Strong.
New Japan Strong, yep.
Yeah, so that's kind of that American chapter. So, but it's also it's a very different core group of wrestlers. It is American-based wrestlers in New Japan Strong within that umbrella of New Japan. Yeah. The big difference with that would have been, actually taking Impact tag titles to New Japan and facing more New Japan centric talent and tag, specifically tag teams, which I think that would have been the big intrigue from the promo if they would have retained those belts. So it does, for some fans maybe feel like a little bit of a missed opportunity, but also at the same time, nothing's happening in Japan right now. And as we're also seeing with Kenny Omega and all the belts, what good is a belt if you just, if you can't really defend it in the ways that you want or that draw? Now, that doesn't mean FinJuice can't ever win those titles back. It's very possible that they do, and then open that door back to Japan. But,
I don't think this is the end of that. But I do think, like, there's a couple of things to kind of think about with this. One, yes, again, back to the intrigue of them going, as they said, they were going to Japan this weekend. Cool. This sounds like something that I need to watch New Japan for, but because it's not happening, I mean, it doesn't take that narrative and that storyline on with them, but it still exists, and they will come back, and they will still, up the ante. Maybe some other teams come with them. Either way, I'm more buying into this as a partnership than anything else that we're seeing.
Yes,
and this one feels more genuine because
it really does.
Everyone feels included in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really does. It's, we're seeing a rotation of talent from New Japan.
Exactly. Yep.
And I think it's
more
different
coming.
Because more coming. And I do think that, again, it would be different if they were actually able to run shows in Japan. We may actually see more Impact talent there, which truly feels like a crossover, feels like a true partnership than what we've talked a lot about with the lack of partnership or mutuality between AEW and Impact. This leads to some more continuity, more opportunities, and also the level of talent. It's not like necessarily it's the big draw. It's a lot more their mid-carders in New Japan coming over, but it's still a really good fit for Impact. It truly it is based off of
Everybody
the stories in
wins.
everybody really does win. So I think that's it feels like things would be slightly different if New Japan was running shows in Japan. I feel like but only in a positive level. I think we would see more of that crossover.
And let's not forget. I mean, I don't know about whatever's happening with like traveling and whatnot, but if now we're seeing a little bit more normalcy in live crowds, Impact is still waiting, and I feel like Impact. And I thought about something today. When I was out today, that I asked a store owner. I said, "Hey, how come your restaurant is open?" I thought stuff was open in this certain county in my area, and they said, "Yeah, sure, we'll open up next month, but we want to open when we can be 100% because." We're such a small place, it only makes sense that we do it in 100% to maximize our value. Yeah. Smart. And then I thought about it for a minute. I was like, I wonder if this is like the psychology with Impact. If we're going to spend resources and staff for people to be at a venue, security, if there's health officials involved, whatever it may be, we got to pay these people if we're going to have people. But if we're only going to have a guest of 15 people, we don't need a full slate.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to consider, but they do have to, and I'm sure they are looking at things now as a timeline, because anything that we've seen really in the past few weeks is a lot of other companies are already announcing having fans back at shows and doing live shows again. So the thing is, a lot of those ticket sales are going to go up just for the pure nostalgia of fans excited to go back. Impact doesn't want to be the last in line, because then people have already bought their tickets for all these other promotions and shows that.
I don't know if I agree, because I mean, like, I think that, I mean, it's a niche, obviously, but also I think too, it's like, it's still in Tennessee, and Tennessee's still going to be like, well, we go to independent wrestling in that direction. It's still Impact. And I don't think like there's going to be like like an idea of like, I'm already going to this, I'm not going to go to that. I think once the door open, they'll be okay.
It's a good point. Like, say if they traveled somewhere, because that also could be a thing too, as far as, WWE announced they're doing live shows, and they're going to be focusing, on places that are a lot more open. MLW is going to Philadelphia. So I think depending on where it is, I think if it is in Tennessee, then they're probably not going to have any problems, because there's not a lot of companies running in Tennessee, maybe other independents. And absolutely. I think when you weigh those out, people are going to be a lot more interested in Impact. But say if they were interested at maybe going to another hub, going to a larger city, that I think could be a bit more of a challenge.
There's a couple of things with that. I think you stay Tennessee and you do not overexpand. And I think you open up the doors and you realize that they tape retro NXT style, essentially. You buy a ticket and you're essentially getting 4 shows. So the bang for your buck is there, and you're getting tape-ins, you're getting good wrestling. And if you're an Impact fan, then you know the atmosphere, and the venue's nice, and then the aesthetics of how Impact puts stuff together is nice. And then you're still in Tennessee, so like you're having a good time in the area, and it is a destination that people will be willing to go. If you do go somewhere else, and if I had to be a guessing man, where would they go? It has to be Canada. I think they have to be waiting till that opens up to really say, this is where we always wanted to be. This is where we're going to go. So I think that, and to my whole point is that with them eventually getting to that point, New Japan people are probably like, well, we're obviously going back to a lockdown, but maybe we can get some talent over there.
Yeah.
Use your platform. And you have to think, this is like old school ROH here. It's like, oh, we got blah, blah, blah coming over. Throw a Jay White. Jay White is in the Impact Zone. I mean, I think that might be as big as how people felt about Kenny Omega.
And say Jay White and Kenny Omega in the same ring, in an Impact ring, too.
And think about this. You do that. if Impact really starts pulling strings this way, and those strings that they were getting pulled this way, if enough pulls coming this way, things might start coming back the other way. We're gonna start saying,
Yes.
"Oh, so now we
Yes.
have a common ground where we can make some really interesting things happen here." You know, so it could be interesting. I don't think it's such far fetched booking. I mean, we'll talk about it in our 1A, but like this could be super interesting in the next 2 or 3 months about what happens here. And I will say, just for the sake of the title picture, I the FinJuice thing isn't done, and I think they're going to actually bring some baggage back with them. I have a feeling that
they're going to need to in order to even, I mean, maybe it's more talent to help even the odds, because again, too, that's 4-on-1. So they're going to need some backup. They're going to need some help.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I do. I'm very happy about this. For Violent by Design winning, I'm very interested in that. And I'm more invested into FinJuice than I was before. And I think sometimes that's how it is. I always think that the faces need to chase the heels. And when you got the best heels in your company with championship gold, it gets interesting here. And I think that other tag teams are going to step up. Other tag teams may arrive. And then FinJuice is definitely going to be on their heels. Now, by any means or stretch or metrics that they do not come back, I'm slashing my own tires and I'm going to drive on the flat out there.
Oh, no, don't.
Because I would be that
disappointed as wrestling fans.
I'll be that disappointed because this is good. This is all good. All good. But folks, let us know what you think about the change of titles, your investment into the tag team division, Violent by Design, and obviously the partnership with New Japan and Impact. We want to know some of your thoughts on that. Now, Miranda, let's go to about let's take a glimpse back to last year, Slammiversary. Yep. Slammiversary was, I mean, it's safe to say, I mean, we all know Bound for Glory is their biggest pay-per-view, but it's safe to say that Slammiversary was absolutely their best pay-per-view last year, with everything involving and just overall just the show. And I think that they're aiming towards that again. I mean, they had historic pay-per-view already earlier this year by Hard to Kill, but was it Hard to Kill? Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Rebellion. Yeah.
I mean, there we go. Thank you. Hard to Kill was big too. Yeah,
Hard to Kill was big. Rebellion being, historic, and Slammiversary now, and it's to their credit that they're just, falling into things as the chips fall. They're leaning into, what this time of year has become, the success of last year, and also how they can capitalize on this open free market. And, whether it's however you consider the forbidden door or whatever terminology you want to call it as well, they're leaning into it. And I think and they kind of did that already, again, starting last year. But this year, now that they've amplified that more with the tie-in from New Japan, it's making lots of people guess, and they're just going for it. They're just going all in.
Yeah, I mean, last year it was probably one of the most hyped and talked about things in Impact. And the promo video and everything was crazy. And although like this promo video is creating a lot of buzz and rumor right now, I mean, we have to think like they've already been signing people, and they've already been making strides to this same tactic. But like, if they're already doing that, they've already seen the success of it last year. That means this year they got to be going pedal to the metal with this one. And because last year I had a lot of suspicion. This year I'm almost clueless because I don't know. Because
they've expanded.
I'm not a Batman on this one.
And well, I mean, when you think back too about who was released last year and who they ended up signing, I think there were a few that were absolutely like for sure, a few that were surprises, and a few you wonder how come they weren't signed. I feel like those are going to be the categories we see people in. But you're right that it's so much more up in the air this year because one, they already do have their rosters filling up, so they may have less capability to sign as many people as they did last year.
Well, I remember I said that they were losing a lot of people, and I was wondering what were they doing with those chips. I mean, after obviously some people left, some people have just called it quits, whatever it may be, whatever the formality of people leaving. I feel like there was open slots and available seating at the table, and I kept saying like, "Hey, you're losing people, especially in the women's division. What are you going to do to fix that?" And then when I thought about it, like I said a couple of weeks ago, about maybe they were all waiting out to this moment, waiting for the Slammiversary thing. Maybe some of these people are already booked and they're just waiting for their big debut, whatever it may be. This is a big pay-per-view for them, so they got to treat it as such. They want to get people to buy into it. With that being said, really quickly, do they change the world again this Slammiversary?
Yeah. I feel like they will. I feel like we're going to get some surprises, maybe some returns, who knows, but I feel like things are going to change. I don't know. It's just hard to think not. And again, they've expanded their reach because they're now including New Japan in this, even though they've already had New Japan talent crossover. That's a whole other element that we didn't
plays
have
into a factor, because it's a bigger pool, and signing or appearance, whatever it may be. Also,
exactly, it could be a full signing. It could just be a one-off appearance. Like, who knows? But it adds, I think, more interest that you have a wider pool of people to choose from.
Yeah. Also, I wish Aces and Eights would have did something last year, but whatever. But also, I can't wait till we get back to the after the credit stuff. Okay. That's all I'm talking about. Give us our stingers back.
Yes, I'm hopeful that they go to that because that was a great way of adding interest and intrigue and teasing. This year, though, those teasers, though, they're going for it. Like I said, they're leaning into it. They're absolutely just going for it, balls to the walls, don't care. That they're here to add interest and intrigue, not here to make friends. So I feel like this year's promo and teaser is absolutely going for it.
All right, let's look at this real quick and give our quick reactions. You ready?
Yeah.
Breaking news from the world of professional wrestling. It has been 1 year to the date, and 20-plus superstars have been released from their contracts. And lightning has struck once again, with several superstars again being released. We'll be closely monitoring the situation, and we wish them all the best in their future endeavors.
All right. So one thing is we got the official date now in July 17th. Now let's pay close attention because this is the new updated one from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go through a few frames here. Make sure we got everything.
We're breaking it down.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I believe that's Mickie James.
Yes, it is.
That is Mr. Samoa Joe there. That is a blank. That is the Bullet Club.
Bullet Club.
Joe again. Joe.
I can't tell what.
Okada.
Okada.
Joe.
Lots of Joe.
The Forgotten Sons here, which I think when you're talking about a little bit of depth in the tag division. Also, I have you know it, one of them dates somebody who is in.
There's a tie in there. There's a tie.
More Japan talent. I mean,
Chelsea is Chelsea Green
coming back home.
Yeah, so this is the one that I was like, they're not caring. They're just going for it. As soon as I saw this, I was like, they don't give a. They're going for it. Good for them. Australian flag, Mexican flag,
Andrade. I definitely went for it. Mexican flag. I mean, Australian flag again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Canada.
Canadian flag.
Chelsea.
More Chelsea.
As we stated.
New Japan logo. The double eyes. The double eyes. I'm sorry. That's literally my hope. I need to see them. Of course, Mickie James again.
And there's our date. So I'll say this for us to kind of wrap it up for today. A lot of these can work.
Yeah.
A lot of these can work. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm excited to see. There's some ones that really make sense, but a lot of these can work. And hopefully they do change the world one more time, because last year was absolutely fun. And if they can do it again July 17th, I'll be all on board for it. And it got 2 months for it. So your closing thoughts about that and the overall show today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, the way that they ended this week's show was great. I think, the way that they're coming into Slammiversary and capitalizing on things that have happened in the wrestling world, again, to have, not only a great event, but hopefully build up their talent roster. They know that people have an interest in Impact, and how many times have people come to Impact to then get re-signed and go somewhere else? Impact has been the place where people's careers can start, get rejuvenated, get relaunched, all of it. So I think that now they have a lot of options to choose from, and it's a blank slate, and I think it's only going to be that much more intriguing as we hit Slammiversary and we go into July. But overall, it gets me excited, and it's not a bad reputation for Impact to have as the company that changes the game. That really does make the surprises. When you think about everyone teasing surprise entrance, surprise appearances, I don't think anyone can do it just as good as Impact's done it.
Right on. There you go. Well, folks, that'll do it for this week's Impact Wrestling Weekly Hot Topic Review. Obviously, as I stated earlier, want to be a part of the show live, hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. That way, when we do go live, whatever time period it is on Friday, you can be a part of the show, join in on conversations. And actually, you could possibly change the trajectory of the topics for the day. Yeah, but nonetheless, we want to hear your thoughts, suggestions, whether it's live or in the comments below if you're watching this pre-recorded. And we'll be here each and every Friday. This was fun. As always, it's Nigerian Miranda. We'll catch you each week, folks. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.